everyone, and welcome to Meow Mix, a Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Chase.
And we are here to talk about the latest Carolina Panthers loss. You'll notice that Jerry is not on the podcast today.
I'm sorry. He was just, I don't know.
He was a little upset.
Upset. So I thought I was doing.
So Chase is going to join for a few minutes. Chase, you watched most of the game with me today. How do you feel about this Panthers team?
Well, they did. Well. At first they had 3-20, which was very bad.
Yes.
But they worked out. They worked their way up. But other ways, not so good.
Yeah, they started trying to come back, but couldn't quite get there, right?
Yeah. But they still played a good game. They tried their best.
No. They played a bad game. They did try their best. That's nice of you to say.
They had a couple good throws. They had
True.
one touchdown.
Yes, they did. They had one touchdown.
And it was 13-27.
That's right.
Which was very bad for the Panthers. I'm sorry, but the Panthers may not be competing in the finals.
I think that is fair to say. The Panthers will not make the playoffs this year. We fall to 1-7. One win, 7 losses.
That is a very bad for the Panthers.
Yes, and for the fans. We don't like that, do we?
No, I don't like it at all. I'm only here on redos, not redos, yeah. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
I don't think anybody does, and that's okay. What did you think about our quarterback? He threw some interceptions today.
Yeah, our rookie, he did good.
He didn't do good. He did bad. Bryce Young today looked pretty terrible.
My head scratched. I don't know the people.
Do you have any other thoughts about the game?
Oh, they had a couple good throws.
Okay.
A very bad throw two very bad throws that went right out of bounds.
Yeah, you were worried about those throws that went out of bounds. I was more worried about the throws that went to the other team.
Yeah.
Those are much more important and terrible, but either way, not a great showing from the Panthers. Chase, any final thoughts?
Well, basically, they did good, but they weren't able to hold on to, I was saying at least get to 20, but not happening.
No, they don't seem to be able to do that too much, do they?
I told them to call me.
Yeah, you said that you could play better than half of those people out there, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm too fast. I'm literally 7.
Yeah, you're the cheetah. All right. Well, thank you, Chase. I'll be right back to talk about the game.
And I have a couple last words.
Oh, go ahead.
If the Panthers do make it in the finals, I just wish them good luck. And bye, Meow Mix. I'll be seeing you one day.
Thank you.
Again. Bye.
And I am back. All right, well, Carolina Panthers lose this one 27-13 in a game that honestly just was extremely frustrating. More frustrating than anything else, I think, that we've seen this season, because the Panthers could have won this game. You know, Bryce Young throws 2 pick sixes, 14 points, and the difference in the game is 14 points. If Bryce doesn't throw those 2 pick sixes and the Panthers can get maybe 3 points out of those 2 drives, Panthers win this game. That's that simple. I thought the Panthers defense played fairly well in this game. They only gave up 13 points total. This game was poorly coached, poorly executed. The amount of penalties that this team has had this season is a direct reflection on Frank Reich and that staff. The offensive line is terrible. I mean, part of the reason that Bryce is making these mistakes is because the pressure's there, like immediately. He doesn't have time. And we know the wide receivers can't get open, right? We know that much. So he needs more time, but he has less time because the offensive line can't stop anybody. And I think if you look at both of those pick sixes, pressure was there, and he was just trying to get rid of the ball. Now the one to Sanders was just a terrible pass. Honestly, there's no sugarcoating that one. Very, very bad pass. Went right over his head and into the defender's hands. Same defender got both pick sixes. What is his name? I want to give him credit. Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore, his whole family, well, 4 of his 6 older sisters were there. We learned a lot about Kenny Moore in this game. And they were very excited. Probably the people having, in fact, I won't even say probably, definitely the people having the most fun in Bank of America Stadium were Kenny Moore's sisters. So congratulations to them. But for the rest of us, it's just another disappointment in a series of disappointments. And on a day where C.J. Stroud throws for 470 and 5 touchdowns in a big victory for them, bad day. Bad day for those Panthers fans who believe that C.J. Stroud should have been the pick. Bad day for Frank Reich and Scott Fitterer, who made the pick. Bad day for any podcasters that recently said, C.J. Stroud should have been the pick and got kind of eviscerated for it. I mean, I don't know. It's again, I'm not. This game doesn't change the way I feel about Bryce Young. I feel like Bryce Young is still going to be a very good Panther eventually. This game does not change the way I feel about the coaching staff. I think Frank Reich should be fired. I think Thomas Brown should probably be fired. I think James Campen should be fired. Really, I think everyone except Evero and some of the other defensive staff should be fired. Evero wasn't the problem in this game. The defense wasn't the problem in this game. Defense gave up 13 points. Bryce Young gave up 14 points himself. Bryce Young, along with the terrible offensive line. Penalties in this game. There was a punt that the Colts were kicking that we had an offsides on. Just a player lined up offsides. And I think they mentioned it was the practice squad guy, Turpin or something. I don't remember what his name was. But honestly, I don't care enough to learn his name because he probably won't be on the team any longer. Basically gave up a first down. I think that was the first Colts scoring drive. So, multiple false start penalties by the Panthers, offensive line, and even Thielen got one. I think they said during the broadcast the Panthers had the second most false starts in the league, probably leading the league by now. And just, you get to 3rd and 1, and then you get 2 false starts that back you up to 3rd and 11. Now, Bryce did make a good throw to Hayden Hurst on that particular example to, continue the drive and, live to throw an interception a little later on. But the mistakes, you just can't win like that. You can't win with this poorly coached of a football team. Frank Reich was not even in the top 5 of the list of coaches that the Meow Mix podcast and pretty much anybody else was looking at when doing, our coach deep dives. So the people that were being interviewed and who we thought should be, the head coach of the team. Steichen was up there. Of course, D'Amico Ryans was up there. Former defensive coordinator for the Panthers, whose name escapes me right now, that took over as the interim head coach last year. God, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But you know what? I'm not in a great headspace right now. I haven't had my magic mind today. So I'm having a hard time thinking anything positively about this team. I don't know what to say. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no first round pick that's probably going to be, if not the number one pick, a top 5 pick, almost guaranteed at this point. Panthers are 1-7. And even last week when the Panthers won, they won because of the defense. They did not win because of offense. The offense helped by not turning the ball over. But, had the Texans scored 16 points, they'd have beaten the Panthers. This is a bad team. This is a bad football team. They can't score points. When the Panthers were down 20-3, it was over. The Panthers don't score more than 20 points. They don't get to 20 points on offense. The only way they would win that game is if Gardner Minshew turned it over and the Panthers could score there, or if maybe there was a special teams touchdown or something, because offensively it's not going to happen. They're not going to score. I thought the special teams return game was pretty good here. Blackshear had a nice one. Smith-Marset finally had something positive to contribute other than, not fumbling the ball. I think he's been a big disappointment. Like he typically catches the ball and either goes down or goes backwards. But he had a nice return today. But these things are setting up nothing. Their Panthers are, I think, maybe got 3 points off the Blackshear one. And I'm not sure what happened on the Smith-Marset one, but again, they're scoring 13 points total in the game. You're not going to win in 2023 in the NFL scoring 13 points. You're just not. Not against a team with any sort of talent on offense. So, let's I guess look at some of the stats here. I mean, they're not. This is not a fun game to talk about, guys. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So Bryce, 24-39, 173 yards, an average of 4.4 yards per attempt. That's a theme that we see over and over and over again. Doesn't matter who the play caller is. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, sacked 4 times. Felt like it was 40 times. Sacked 4 times for 36 yards. Ouch. What is that? That's over 8 yards a sack. Ugh. Chuba, 16 of 58. Bryce, 5 for 41. Bryce did run the ball some today, which I actually think he should do a lot more of. Particularly because the running backs haven't been stellar this year, and the wide receivers can't get open. So if you give the defense something else to think about, Bryce Young scrambling, he was our best runner today by average. I think that helps everything. So I'd like to see him run a little more. I'd like to see him slide rather than put his shoulder into 2 defensive linemen, or not defensive linemen, but linebackers. I'd like to see him slide instead of doing that, but I do like the running, and I'd like to see him continue to do that. And then Miles Sanders, 6 for 39, averages 6.5 yards per run. And honestly, he didn't have any big runs. He had a long of 11, so nothing to skew that average. Thought he looked okay running the ball today. And then he had 3 catches for 22 as well. So I would say this is probably the best he's looked as a Panther. Hayden Hurst led the team in receiving yards. He had 2 receptions for 54 yards, 1 48-yard reception. So definitely skewed those numbers a little bit. Thielen, 5 for 29. Couldn't do anything today. Steven Sullivan, hello, 4 for 28. I mean, in terms of tight end production, I'll take that. And then you had Tommy Tremble with 2 for 12. So between the tight ends, 8 catches for probably, 80 yards, something like that, 90 yards. That's not bad. There's something positive, I guess, there. DJ Chark had 2 catches for 9 yards and one touchdown. He snuck it in there. Man, DJ Chark, just what a disappointment. Chuba 4 for 9, Blackshear 1 for 5, Mingo 1 for 5. Another disappointment, Jonathan Mingo. Bad draft. Bad draft for the Panthers. Chuba, let's see. Well, looking at the defense here, Frankie Louvu once again leads the team in tackles with 11. In terms of sacks, we got 1, Deshaun Williams, his first sack as a Panther. He also had a couple of QB hits, probably one of the better defensive games that we've seen from him this year. Alex Cook was second on the team in tackles. Honestly, yeah, safety. So, I don't know. 1 tackle for loss from him. Just kind of looking at some of the other stats here. Eddie P was 2 for 2 on field goals. Hecker, decent day punting the ball. 2 of his 4 went into the inside the 20. But yeah, just nothing great from the Panthers there. Looking at the Colts real quickly, Minshew 17 for 26, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions for him, which is pretty good and pretty rare. He's prone to turning the ball over, so decent day for him. Jonathan Taylor, 18 carries, 47 yards. The Panthers did a pretty good job stopping the run game of the Colts. I mean, Taylor's a very good player, and seems like he's rounding into shape, but today he looked bad. He only had 2.6 yards per. Did have 5 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown, so he did get into the end zone, but Zach Moss, 7 for 26. So, I mean, the Panthers, held the Colts to 2.6 yards per carry on 30 carries. That's pretty good. Good run game defense for the Panthers today. Receiving-wise, Michael Pittman, 8 for 64. Talked about Taylor. Drew Ogletree, 1 for 19. McKenzie, 2 for 12. Josh Downs, 1 for 10. So, really, the defense did a pretty good job. Today when they were on the field. Now, honestly, when you're throwing pick sixes, that's a couple of drives that the defense doesn't have to be on the field. So, numbers are a little skewed there again, but that's 26 throws, 30 rushes. I mean, that's 56 plays, so that's a little less than average, but not much. Shaq Leonard led the Colts with 10 tackles. DeForest Buckner, Adiabingo, Quiddy Pay, my God, some of these names, and Eric Johnson all had full or partial sacks for the Colts. 4 sacks for the Colts. We talked about Kenny Moore with his 2 pick sixes, and then Alubi also had an interception. Boy, they do have some kind of hard to pronounce names on their defense. Matt Gay, 2 for 2 on field goals, and Sanchez for their punter had a pretty good day as well. If nobody cares about punters, I know, except me. Panthers did hold the time of possession, 31 minutes. Again, you're throwing pick sixes, your offense comes right back out there. So, looking at penalties, 10 penalties for 81 yards for the Panthers compared to 5 for 25. That's just huge. 3 turnovers for the Panthers, 1 for the Colts. I mean, that's, again, it was a fumble. Yeah. Don't see much else here that we really need to talk about. So, oh gosh, guys, I don't know. Why are you still a Panthers fan? Put it in the comments. Send us an email, mailbag@meowmexpodcast.com. Why are you still a Panthers fan? What is it? Is it just geographic location? Is it this is the team you grew up with and it just feels weird to not root for them? Because they've given you nothing over really since 2017. This franchise has given you nothing. They've taken a lot from you, I'm sure. Money, time, good feelings, good vibes. Like, they've taken all of these things from you. What have they given you? Certainly not entertainment that you can enjoy. I don't know. Maybe we all need to reevaluate our priorities here, but I bleed Carolina Panthers blue, and it's hard. This is tough. It's just really tough. It's hard to be a fan of this franchise the way it's being run right now, and the product on the field it's just sad. Honestly, it's just sad. All right. I don't remember what our beer bets were. I don't remember what our bold predictions were. So let's move to heroes and zeros. Zero in this game. Gonna have to give it to Bryce. I mean, 2 pick sixes. Don't care what the circumstances are. You throw 2 pick sixes, you lose by 14 points, you're the zero. And honestly, Bryce Young has been the zero several games this season. You're getting that out of your number one pick, your franchise quarterback. And again, I understand. Everyone understands, whether they want to admit it or not, the circumstances that Bryce has here. They're not ideal. You can't throw 2 pick sixes. You can't throw 3 interceptions in a game when you're heralded as this guy with great accuracy, great processing ability. You can't make those mistakes. That's why one of the things that we brought him in, we thought, this guy's just not going to make these mistakes. He's too smart. He's too savvy. Yeah, he might not come in and throw 35 touchdowns his first year, but he's not going to throw 20 interceptions. He's on his way. I don't know that he's going to get to 20, but he certainly might lead the league in interceptions this year. And again, it's unfair to Bryce to compare him to CJ Stroud, but that's the comparison that's going to be made because that's the guy that you could have had. Maybe the guy that you should have had. So it's always going to be there. That comparison's always going to be there, not just from me, not just from other podcasters, but it's going to be in the head of every fan. It just is, whether you want to admit it or not. It just is. So Bryce is the zero, the hero. Don't have one. Don't think there is a hero in this game for the Panthers. Brian Burns got hurt, went out. Didn't hear too much more about that, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. CJ Henderson went out with concussion. With a game coming up Thursday, both of those guys, I think you might just count them out. I don't know. I don't know what Burns' injury was, but and again, you're taking him out of the game with 4 minutes left in a game that you're obviously not going to win. So maybe it's not as bad as it looks, but he's only got a couple of days to recover before you're right back out there on the field. They may look at themselves and say, hey, we're 1-7. Do we want to put Brian Burns out there and risk major injury when this is the guy that you're supposedly going to pay at some point to be your franchise defensive player? You're the face of the franchise on the defense. They got to pay him, right? Like, they didn't trade him. They had many offers. Apparently, they had 5 teams at least that made firm offers for Brian Burns, and they didn't trade him. Didn't trade him last year when you were offered 2 first-round picks and a third. So they got to pay him, right? Right? All right. Well, that's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow. I guess technically we'll be back Tuesday morning to preview the Thursday night game against the Bears. Hopefully Jerry can recover in time to join me on that one. But if not, Chase and I'll be here to preview that game for you. So, hit us up on Twitter at MeowMixPodcast. Shoot us an email, mailbag at meowmixpodcast.com. We're on Facebook. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. Need to look at those. Haven't looked at those in a little bit. And until next time, Everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.